Welcome to Postpartum.
Yeah.
We have some great bonus content lined up. So if you guys are just listening to this Postpartum, then we hope you go check out the other stuff. And if you're new to listening to Postpartums and you haven't gotten through all of them, really check them out. They're, I was going to say Wild and Crazy Kids, like that Nickelodeon show. Is that what it was called? I think so.
Yeah.
So our episode that we're doing this postpartum on was the COVID. I was thinking of calling it COVID and ketchup. We'll see what, not like ketchup and mustard, but ketchup, I guess. Phil corrected me. He's like, you shouldn't say ketchup. It's ketchup.
In our ketchup section.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you guys, what are your thoughts after that?
Well, first of all,
one.
I'm surprised at how well doing recording from Zoom, because that's what we're using to record, has been. It's been really good and pretty, I don't know, practical. Like we've been able to do it without too much complications.
Yeah.
I still like being with you
Yeah.
guys. I think we have a better time, but this has already been fun. So
Yeah, I think it's a lot
good.
more natural than I expected it to be.
Better than Google Hangouts. I mean,
Yeah.
no offense.
Oh my gosh. Countless,
Boo.
like,
Who likes Google Hangouts?
sit down. Not you. Don't put your hand up.
Just kidding. I used
You in
Google
the
Hangouts
back.
for a long time.
Yeah, we've had some good experiences, but I really like this. So, there was a couple of things I had written down. I can of like points that I was gonna bring up if we had time. One that was homeschooling, and I know that we've talked about this, and we may have even in the other episodes, but we've already highlighted, and listeners have possibly heard if you're on social media, there's the difference between homeschooling and crisis schooling. And if you're listening to this and you are you don't have children that are in school, either because your children are too young or you're past that age, then it just may not be part of your sphere. But I've thought about, like, it kind of came to my mind because really we know that our lives aren't dramatically different because of other than the socializing that we talked about in the episode, but like with our children, but it's been a real sour spot, I guess, for a lot of our friends who are parents of children that are in grade school and up.
Yeah.
And I know, like, you have your sister, and she's had a really different opinion of, like, we've all seen a lot of heartburn over it. And so I think it's given me a little bit more to think about like looking at real homeschool, and how safe. And it used to be because I was scared of, like, the safety in the school, but I almost feel like now I need to be prepared, like you were saying in the episode, just for a different reason, not because of a natural disaster for your food storage, but because of people, and I almost feel like I need to be prepared because for the reverse of people, but because, like, well, what if something like a natural disaster shuts down the school? Or if, like, something like this happens and it's not, like, I have to be able to teach them. And I've just been relied on those professional, like, the teachers that are professionals teaching.
Well, they've talked about, so Alpine School District has sent out a survey saying, because some people have said, now that the teachers know how to do this, can we do this in lieu of snow days? And they've sent out a survey saying, would you rather do a remote school versus snow day? Because when they have
summer school, maybe too.
When they have snow days, they have to add more days on, like cut into spring break or cut into summer break, because they are a required number of days. And so I think now that the schools have done it, even though everyone is saying that it's torture, I feel like there's a precedent though now. And so when anything happens to where there's a threat, maybe there's like a school shooting or something and they close it down for a week,
threat.
There's a precedent now, so it may happen more often. This experience as far as homeschooling obviously doesn't affect me personally with Jamie, but it has made me really sad, and hopefully we'll get to talk about this in our later on. We'll have an episode specifically on homeschooling, but I am a huge homeschool advocate. I think that it is an amazing choice. We plan on doing it, and if done properly with people who are prepared to do it, I think it works wonders, especially for children with specific learning needs and stuff. And it's just making me so sad how many people are struggling, and what they're doing is not homeschooling. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's giving homeschooling a bad reputation, and it's making, I mean, everyone's appreciating teachers, which is great. Teachers are great. But yeah, that whole situation is just making me really sad for how people are coming away from this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same. I have a hard time talking on the subject just because I haven't experienced it firsthand, but I think it's opened some doors. I also think, like you were talking about, the option of having school, what did you call it?
Distance learning?
Distance learning?
Crisis schooling?
Crisis schooling.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, having that for snow days or like for a summer school substitution, I don't know. But I think that's cool. And the same with jobs. Like we talked about those things. It opens some doors, but I am sure that for a lot of people, this has been a less than ideal option.
Well, and it's so different. Like my sister is a senior, and her senior experience has been crazy, but she actually is doing really well, and she doesn't have a lot of friends in school. A lot of her friends are older, so she's not having a super hard time with it, and she's actually doing better with her classes. But she's saying like some of her friends have like hours and hours of homework every single day, and I know people whose kids are in elementary school that have Zoom meetings every day. Someone had a Zoom meeting for 45 minutes with like third graders or something like that. And that's this, like I have another friend who has a couple of kids in school doing Zoom meetings, and she just has to kind of be there, making sure that they're on their meetings, making sure that they're sitting still, making, that's not homeschooling. There's nothing about that is homeschooling. The other people are totally doing
all the
like
screen time. That's
and the assignments,
my sister-in-law said
it's just dependent upon the teacher. The teacher's saying, you need to do all this, and then other teachers are saying, just don't worry about it. Yeah. I mean, that homeschooling is set by the parents. What you learn is set by the parents. That's the whole idea. Yeah. And so just being forced to do regular school at home right now is like, that's not the same thing. And I wish people would stop calling it that, but there's no other word for it. They're doing homeschooling. It's school at home. But it's just not the same.
Well, that's like saying, I mean, like, it's literally, that's what it is, but it's not the meaning of that. Like, it's not homework if you're working on your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing home repair.
And you don't have as much control or efficacy with your kid. Like, it is dependent, like you were saying, on the teachers. And so it may be a way better experience for some kids whose teachers are better able to work with this than it is for other kids where they have a lot of online work or they are sitting through long, boring, difficult Zoom meetings. I don't know. It's just, but I also think that could be how it is for homeschooling too. Like there are people who do homeschooling well, and there are people who do not do homeschooling well. And so, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're totally right that what we're doing right now is not homeschooling, but I also think there are people who should not homeschool either.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've known people who start it and are not successful. It's not for everyone. It does require, it requires a lot, I think, to make sure that your kids are successful. So,
but this should not be the gauge. This should not be the gauge as to whether or not your kids
Yeah.
would be successful at homeschool because it's not the same as what we know as homeschool.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, I can't be a parent because I can't keep plants alive.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was shifting from homeschooling, but related still to Corona. I know that Cody, you were saying that you've I don't know if you have, Jess, but you've looked at the Allison show or Allison Faulkner's page, and I got an email from her advertising something that she talked about in one of her latest podcasts, and I wanted to share in here something that she had sent over, and it was 5 tips for adjusting to a new normal. And I had intended to share this in the episode, and I forgot about it, but I want to share that here. So 1 is, remember each day, each week, each hour is going to look different and won't always feel this way. 2, give yourself a break. 3, reevaluate your definition of self. 4, pick 1 or 2 things to focus on and steadily add things back in. 5, ask for help, accept help. help is great. And I really especially like, well, I like all of them, but what I like about number 1 is that reminder, like it won't always feel this way. And I think that's something, it ties into things that we've talked about before, like with anything with anxiety, or if you're feeling like when we're frustrated because our child isn't responding the way they normally respond about something, we take that one time and it represents how we are as a parent, you know, and instead of recognizing like that's a momentary situation, not able to see the big picture as much. So I like that for that reason. And then I don't totally, what are you guys' thoughts on number 3, reevaluate your definition of self? I'm not sure if I really know what she means.
I don't know. I mean, I have
just
a pretty good definition of.
I think what you were a little bit, and this is just what I took that as, kind of how you're saying you had to learn different coping mechanisms.
Right.
I think sometimes we get set in, this is who I am, this is how I work, and without these things, I can't be me.
Right.
And so just taking a step back and saying, okay, I've got to adapt, and maybe who I am is going to look different, and that's okay. That's okay
right.
if who I am looks a little different than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I took that as.
I have been finding more in this situation that I'm not as introverted as I think I am, because just being at home constantly, I am ready to, not ready emotionally because of the feelings that I have about the virus, but like I want to get out and do things, and it does start to wear on me. One thing that's I've noticed recently is that it's starting to really not get me down, but it's just sad that Jamie is growing so fast and no one is there to share it with me. My family, his grandparents, we do a weekly call, but they aren't able to come and visit. And I just feel like he's going to be crawling before he gets to see anyone again. And that, I guess, is affecting me more than I thought it would. Because when it first started, like I said, like I'm fine being at home, and I really am. I'm not going crazy or anything, but I am learning that more about myself, that I'm not as introverted, and that's okay. Whatever we are is okay. But yeah, I guess that's what it kind of means to me.
Yeah, I like that.
One thing that I didn't mention on the episode that I thought was really interesting and new for me, in contrast, is being a mom versus previously. When I've experienced disasters and things, not huge ones, but whatever, power outages, whatever it is, like I have felt differently about how to handle myself. Kind of like you were talking about, Cody, when you were talking about getting in the accident on your way home from Wyoming, and how you just are like more focused on protecting your family. And that's something that has really been affecting me. Like, I'm a very logical person, and I know logically, like I said, we probably won't get it, but if we do get it, we'll probably be fine. Mm-hmm. And babies are at the very lowest risk, especially if they don't have any complications or anything like that. So, or not complications, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If they're not susceptible, if they don't have any pre-existing stuff. So I know logically we'll be fine, but the anxiety that I have about myself, and I saw that somebody posted this, that it was like, when you become a parent, you're not worried about yourself dying as much as you're worried about dying and leaving your children motherless. Yes. Mm. And that is what I'm like, that, and I don't want to say that anxiety, because it's really not something that I sit and think about and worry about, but just the thought that if I go out and I get it, and for whatever reason I end up dying, I can't fathom doing that, like dying and leaving my family, leaving my child without me. And that's something that, of course, I have never considered or thought of before, or even like, it's always just been about me. And of course, my husband, but we talk or joke like, if I died, then you can do this, or you can go and marry someone, or, whatever. TJ says he'll never get remarried, but, it was always just that, like, there wasn't as severe, I guess, of a of a feeling about like, if I die, I'm leaving Jamie motherless, and that I just can't do. So I think that the feeling of that was totally new to me and has definitely affected my decisions as far as not leaving the house. But yeah, I don't know if that crossed either of your minds at all.
Not exactly, but I can totally relate to that. I can totally see that.
Yeah. I don't think I had, I mean, I have those feelings just about everything, like in general, late night, late night thoughts that are scary and intrusive. And, but I think I just have to really focus on remembering that anything could happen, I could leave any day, and it could be God's will and it could not be God's will, but I have to make these days count. And I'm here now. And I think that's kind of where my mantra from this whole thing has come from is, okay, I got to make the time I get with the ones I love count, make it special, make it memorable, make it sincere, and then go to bed at the end of the day knowing that I've done that, and whatever happens, happens. I'm probably not a preparer. I'm probably that's the conclusion I just came to.
That was something else I thought I saw, and I actually thought of you, Cody, because I know that you are one that is still going out and doing things. Somebody posted that basically that we need guinea pigs, so don't be upset when people go out and do things. It was like she was saying it about herself, like, let me be the guinea pig. Let me go out as things open up. Let me go out and let me do them and like show you that they're safe, or, whatever it is. And that gave me a different perspective of it as well. Like, not like I was being super judgmental of people leaving their house, because everyone, like, there's a lot of people doing it and it's, their own thing. But it gave me a better, it wasn't just like, there are people ignoring this and leaving, it's like, oh, there are people who are testing the waters for me who feels less safe. And that's an awesome thing. That's really great. Because if there weren't, then people like me would just be afraid and be inside forever, Yeah.
Well, and I think when it comes down to what people choose to do, it's all about respect. Like, I respect the person that wants to stay in their house till 2020. Like, and 2021 wear masks at the store. Yeah, whatever. 2022 is what I meant to say.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to be really exaggerated, and instead I just sounded stupid, but it's fine. Until the past, they want to stay in their house till 6 months ago. Okay.
So what bugs me though is that I want to be like you. Like, I see you because you posted videos of you guys longboarding or whatever up the canyon, and I'm just like, I want to be there. I want to do that. But then I just can't, because I'm not there. Like, emotionally, I'm not ready.
That's totally okay. I think it like, if that's where you're at and that's what you're comfortable with, then that is great. And you have to do what is best for yourself and your family and your heart. And that looks different for everyone. And so it just comes down to respecting that.
Is that kind of like you shared that quote that I posted, the one about like, my decisions for my family aren't an attack on yours? Is that kind of like,
I didn't think of that, but yeah.
I mean, does that represent kind of what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I do not judge anyone for whatever precautions they're taking, whatever planning they're taking, whatever their stance is on government decisions on the virus, on health care. I just know where we're at.
Have you gotten any judgment or comments or anything of that nature, that like, why are you out of your house?
Not that I've noticed, but I have made it a point to not focus on it. So I don't ask. I don't want to know. If people talk about their opinions, I respect those. If they ask me about my opinions, I give them, and don't ask for their opinions.
I've just watched like vloggers and stuff when if they're doing Instagram lives or something, and they have to be like, I'm following my local guidelines. I'm out, they have to like classify everything that they do, because I'm sure they just get so many messages. But
yeah.
Thank you both for your thoughts on this postpartum, and we hope you guys will tune in next week.